Hi everyone! Today we're talking about 4 different methods of multiplication. So I have this poster and we are still learning the 4th one. That's why the bottom number 4 shortcut method is not completed yet, but I will still show it in this video since we're going to be talking about it tomorrow. So you can see on this poster there are 4 different methods of multiplication for 2-digit numbers times 1-digit numbers. And one of them is called place value sections. The second one is called expanded notation. The third method is algebraic notation. And the fourth method is the shortcut method, which again, we're learning tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you this 57 times 3 problem in 4 different ways, like I have up here on the poster. And I'm gonna go ahead and get started on modeling it for you on a whiteboard. So here we go for place value sections. We're going to come over here to the whiteboard. And on the whiteboard, I'm going to show you at the top the name of the method. So I've got place value sections method. I'm going to try to keep this camera nice and still for you. All right, so for the place value sections method, I'm going to go ahead and model 57 times 3. So in 57 times 3, we are going to go ahead and break apart that 57 and we're going to think of it as 50 plus 7. And for all these methods except number 4, we're going to go ahead and start with an area model. And for this area model, we're going to draw a rectangle and we're going to cut it into 2 sections. And I'm going to make my rectangle kind of small because I like to have some room to work off to the side. So I'm going to go ahead and break 57 into 50 plus 7. And if I know the top is 50 plus 7, then I definitely know the bottom is 50 plus 7 as well. So we're thinking of this rectangle as the length is 57. So we're thinking of it as 2 different lengths instead of just one, and we're thinking of it as a 50 and a length of 7 put together. And if that length is 57 and I'm multiplying by 3, I'm going to make this short side 3. Okay, so for place value sections method, what we're going to do after we do the area model, we are going to start thinking about multiplying the different parts of this rectangle, the length and the width. So we actually do our work inside the rectangle for place value sections. So we're going to go ahead and think of this section as 3 times 50. And we're going to think of this section as 3 times 7. And then we're going to find the partial products. So we're going to find the product of this side, and that would be 150. And that becomes mental math because we know the basic fact is 3 times 5, and we're just going to add the 0. And then on this side, we get 21. Okay, so now that I have 2 partial products, I know that this side of the rectangle's area is 150. And this side of the rectangle's area is 21. So now I'm going to go ahead and add up the total product and get 150 plus 21. I'm going to go ahead and add those up. So now I end up with a final product, a total product of 171. So that is the place value sections method. And that is 1 out of 4. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase this, and I'm going to show you another method. So I'll go back to the poster to show you that as well. So go ahead and take a look at the poster while I erase. And this poster stays up in our classroom so that the kids can constantly refer to it. Okay, so this is expanded notation, is the method number 2 that I'm going to show. And in the expanded notation method, we are going to start with an area model again. But notice how on expanded notation method number 2, we do the work outside of the rectangle. So we're going to do the work on the right-hand side. It really doesn't matter which side. I've just been using the right-hand side because that makes sense from my brain. All right, so we're going to show you that same problem, 57 times 3, but now I'm going to use the expanded notation method. So let's go back over to the whiteboard. At the top of the whiteboard, I'm going to go ahead and write the title of this method. This is the expanded notation method. And for this problem, I'm going to model the same one that I did on the last one. I'm going to do 57 times 3. Okay, so like the other method, I'm going to go ahead and start with an area model. And an area model means we're going to make a rectangle to model 57 again. And we're going to break that 57 into 50 plus 7. And I like to do the bottom as well, just to show the kids that if I know the top, I know the bottom. And if I know the sides, I know the other side. Okay, so I start with an area model of setting up the problem visually. Now I'm going to go ahead and show the expanded notation work off to the side. And I'm going to start by writing that problem with the 57 on top and the 3 underneath. And now I'm going to go ahead and write that 57 in expanded notation, just like I did in the area model. So I'm going to think of 57 as 50 plus 7. And then I'm going to go ahead and think of 3 in expanded notation, which is just 3. So I'm rewriting this problem in a kind of a new and different way. And now I'm going to go ahead and show the multiplication of the tens. So I'm going to multiply 50 times 3, the tens digit by the ones digit. And I'm going to do the same thing over here and do 50 times 3. And so I like to show the kids my work underneath. I'm going to do 50 times 3, and that will become 150. I'm doing all my work on the right-hand side over here instead of inside the rectangle with this method. And then my next multiplication problem becomes 7 times 3, and I like to show them it over here as well. And 7 times 3 equals 21. And I'm just going to go ahead and add those up now. And now I end up with my final product. Very similar to the last method, I just do the work a little bit differently. I show my work a little differently, and I do it outside of the rectangle. So I end up with the same product, of course, because I'm doing the same multiplication problem, just in a different method. All right, I'm going to let you guys look at the poster while I go ahead and erase my board, and I'm going to show you the algebraic notation next. So the algebraic notation is number 3 on the poster up here. And I'm going to go ahead and do an area model just like I did before. I'm going to go ahead and do the work on the right-hand side of the area model just like I did before. And I'm going to use a dot to show multiplication instead of an X. In the world of algebra, we often will use a dot instead of an X. And the kids know that it's all the same. It means all the same thing. So go ahead and look at strategy number 3. And notice how we're going to start with the rectangle to show visually 57 times 3, and then we'll do the work off to the right-hand side. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my whiteboard. At the top of my board, I'm going to go ahead and show algebraic notation. This is the 3rd method out of 4. And again, I'm showing the problem 57 times 3. All right, so just like the last one, I'm going to go ahead and start with an area model. And I'm going to break the 57 apart into 50 plus 7 again. And if I know the top, I know the bottom. This is great practice for our learning in geometry. We'll be learning about area, so this is just a little front loading for them. All right, so now I've got my area model complete, and now for the algebraic notation, I'm going to write the problem off to the right-hand side, just like I did it in the last strategy. So I'm going to go ahead and write 57, and I'm going to use a dot this time instead of an X, and it still means multiplication. And now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite that problem on the other side of the equation. I'm going to show it with the 3, and then I'm going to put 57 in expanded notation inside parentheses. Okay, so now I've got the same problem, 57 times 3, written in a new way over here. It all means the same thing. So I broke apart my 57 into 50 plus 7, and now I'm going to distribute the 3 and multiply 3 times 50. And over here on my board, this is like we did on the last strategy where we're going to connect it on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and show 3 times 50, and I know down here that 3 times 50 is the same thing as 3 times 5 with 1 0 added on. And then I'm going to distribute the 3 to the 7, and I'm going to go ahead and show that on this side. I'm going to multiply 3 times 7. And then some kids can just do this math in their head, but I prefer to go ahead and stack it up just to make sure that I don't mess up my addition, especially as the multiplication problems get more complicated. So now I end up with a final product of 171. And I use the algebraic notation method this time. Very similar to the last method, we're just showing the distributive property of multiplication. All right, almost done here, guys. We're going to do one more method. And if you look at the board, it is not yet modeled on the poster because we are learning about this tomorrow. But this is the shortcut method, and this is what a lot of us learned when we were in school long ago, before we had all these different methods for solving a problem. But I like to give kids choices in how they do it. So this will be kind of fun for them to have 4 to choose from. Okay, so shortcut method is where we're just going to go ahead and go back to the whiteboard now. And I'm going to write the method at the top like I was before. So the shortcut method, and it is supposed to be a shorter version of it. So let's see if it is. So we're going to go ahead and write 57 on top and 3 on the bottom. And now what we're going to do is multiply the ones digit. So I'm just going to multiply the 3 times the 7. And I know that 3 times 7 is 21. So I'm going to put the tens above the tens place and the 1 down below. And now I'm going to multiply the 3 times the tens. So 3 times 5, tens. 3 times 5 is 15. And I'm going to add 16, 17. So you can see how there's not any visuals here to support kids that prefer to learn that way. That's why we usually teach this last, but it is faster for those kids that are ready. Now, eventually your child will be able to choose any of these 4 methods. Whatever one suits them the best, they will be able to choose. So it is good to learn all of them before they make their choice. That's why we've been teaching all 4 of them. But by the end of the multiplication unit, your child should have one favorite that they kind of use as their go-to. All right, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I'll have another video up shortly, and help out your child with some multiplication at home. Thanks.